Cool. We have only like 15 minutes left, but I'd like to move into more fun philosophical kind of discussions as well, if we can go in that direction. And one of the core ideas we speak about a lot is the so-called AI divide, meaning basically we have a few set of tech giants in the world, the big US and Chinese tech companies. That is, knowing they have the data, they know how to use the data, they have the infrastructure, they have the knowledge, they have the innovation, the research team, and they can basically dominate the world in some extent. If you look at the most valuable companies in 2019, it's Google, it's Facebook, it's Amazon, it's Apple, and it's Baidu, it's Alibaba and Tencent. And it seems like they know how to use data and AI to an extreme that is much bigger than I think people understand.
The gap is bigger than people realize.
And they have research that allows them to look 10 years ahead, from where they are today. And then if you look at a normal company, they're struggling to even get data collected because they're afraid about GDPR. They don't have the understanding how to use the latest techniques. And this kind of big divide between normal companies and the few tech giants, I would argue, is much bigger than people understand. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that fully. It's insane how big of a difference it is to be a company in Europe and in the US.
Yeah.
But is this a societal concern? I mean, like I even had that as part of the Data Innovation Summit keynote this year, that this is a societal concern. That if this growing divide, it's a new type of rich and poor, and it's going to drive a lot of bad stuff out of that situation. If you take that to the extreme, where that could lead us, is that over exaggerating? No, I'm really scared.
No, I agree, because what those companies do in China and the US spill over and affect all other sectors.
Yes.
Because people move around and become leaders in other sectors, or they share technology and move in other sectors. So healthcare and schooling are going to advance faster as well. As well will politics, because obviously those big companies affect policies in the US and China as well, much, much faster than we do here. And then on top of that, they have in China a one long plan that they give money to, and in the US they have the world's biggest free market, so it's easy to scale there.
Yeah, but we have talked about this now. What is the real societal concern of this? Why is this a problem for society? Why is this a problem? I mean, are we just jealous, or why is it really a problem?
You have a better chance of survival if you get cancer today in the US and have money than you have in Sweden.
This is one core inequality. It feeds inequality.
Yeah. But I think it's important to point out, it is if you have money in US, and if you have money in China as well, I would argue.
Yeah. Yes.
And if you take like the normal average company in US and compare it to an average company in Europe, I think the European average company is not that far behind, or even potentially ahead. It is like a big divide. That's the the core issue, that there is a couple of few companies that are super successful.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we have none of those in Europe. That is a big problem.
But also in the top 100, I think. Actually, in the top 100 in the US and the top 100 in Sweden, per capita, the investments are bigger into AI.
Yes.
But I want to try. I mean, my understanding is that I think it's better for society, our economy, arbetslöshet, all this stuff, if we can manage the disruption, so to speak, from within our organizations today. So it's going to be a painful journey of job allocation or reallocation and all that kind of stuff. But when that happens from within an organization, rather from a force from somewhere else that comes in and completely disrupts an industry, I think that's going to have a much more more difficult impact on our economy. So we have a really painful journey to sort of catch up and disrupt ourselves. But the alternative is that someone else is disrupting. I mean, we have talked about what happens when Amazon comes to Sweden, right? So I think that's, for me, that we will have knock-on effects in jobs and all that will look very, very different if we do it, we are the drivers of our own change, versus we are forced into it and not being prepared at all.
Yeah, and I think that requires honesty and vulnerability.
Yes.
So a simple question then: how do we fix that?
I love it. 10 minutes.
Wow. I think above all, we need signal value and inspiration. We need to start to encourage and celebrate those who dare. But I would say definitely we need political leadership.
Yeah. And investment, as you said.
I like that T-shirt. Celebrate those who dare.
Yeah.
And by the way, we spell dare, data, AI, ready, dare. Celebrate those who dare. I love it.